Walk me through the IMF's assessment of what we're seeing in the macro environment today, because the White House has essentially come out and said that 2 consecutive quarters of retraction does not equate a recession. Where does the IMF see things today?
Well, as you know, this year is a year where we moved from a nascent recovery to a high level of uncertainty. Inflation, geopolitics, supply issues have changed the outlook for this year. Priority number 1 is to fight inflation in order to protect prices and also to protect purchasing power. Priority number 2 is to provide supply for basic goods and commodities and also affordability of those. Priority number 3 is to maintain through controlling inflation, capital flows, especially for emerging economies. Those are the priorities for the world. Those also are the priorities for the region this year.
What's your deepest concern at this point? Is it the resumption of more lockdowns in China with COVID-19 threats, or is it something more to do with the war in Ukraine? Because obviously that's causing major volatility in energy markets.
Well, the list of downside risks are high this year. If I look at the region is divided into 2 groups. The oil exporting countries are enjoying a strong recovery that started last year and that is continuing this year with the strength of the oil market price and production. They have also the capacity to increase their reserves. On the other hand, the oil importing countries, they're faced with the shock of inflation that they need to control, which means that they need to tighten their monetary policy. They have also the issue of food security because the region is heavily dependent on food items, and the inflation is a headline inflation, i.e. mainly driven by those basic commodities. For the majority of the EMs, access to capital is going to be important this year. The access as also the affordability, which means the level of spread that they need to pay. Last but not the least, we saw high level of uncertainties last year, but those uncertainties are growing. We saw the resurgence of Omicron variant affected the production in leading countries like China. We have still a challenge on the supply side, and therefore all these issues are now at the menu of decision makers. And for us, those are the priorities: is how to preserve stability, how to address the issue of inflation, how to preserve and protect access to basic food and commodities, and reduce any risks of supply disruption.